Before we get into today's explosive update, I want you to imagine this for a moment. What if the biggest opportunity of this entire crypto cycle is not months away, not next year, but sitting right in front of us over the next 72 hours? What if the market is quietly positioning itself for something that most investors still do not fully understand? Welcome back to XRP Update, your home for the latest XRP news, market developments, and game-changing insights. Today's story is one of the most important conversations we have had in a long time, because it touches on a trend that could completely reshape not only XRP, but the entire financial system. We are talking about real-world asset tokenization, institutional adoption, massive capital inflows, and why some analysts believe the next few days could set the stage for one of the most significant moves we have seen in years. If you are holding XRP, watching XRP, or even considering entering the market, this is a video you absolutely do not want to miss, because the developments unfolding right now are connecting pieces of a puzzle that investors have been waiting years to see come together. Before we move forward, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It helps this video reach more people who want the latest XRP news and market updates. The support from this community has been incredible, and every like tells YouTube that this content matters. If you enjoy staying ahead of major developments in crypto, finance, and XRP specifically, make sure you help us spread the word. We have some huge information to cover today, and trust me, you are going to want to stay locked in from beginning to end, because the final pieces of this story could completely change how you look at the current market situation. Also, make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. There is a critical part of today's discussion that many investors overlook, and missing it could mean missing the bigger picture entirely. The market has a way of distracting people with short-term price action, while the real story develops behind the scenes. Today we are going to connect those dots and examine why some of the smartest money in the world appears to be preparing for a future that revolves around tokenized assets, blockchain infrastructure, and networks capable of handling institutional-grade financial activity. The implications for XRP are enormous, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why so many long-term holders remain incredibly optimistic despite the volatility we have seen recently. One of the biggest themes dominating the crypto industry right now is real-world asset tokenization. You have probably heard the phrase mentioned repeatedly, but many investors still do not fully appreciate what it means. At its core, tokenization is the process of representing real assets on blockchain networks through digital tokens. These assets can include currencies, bonds, commodities, real estate, stocks, and many other forms of value. Instead of traditional systems that require layers of intermediaries, paperwork, delays, and costly infrastructure, tokenization allows these assets to move more efficiently through blockchain technology. What makes this particularly exciting is the sheer scale of the opportunity. We are not talking about a niche market. We are talking about potentially hundreds of trillions of dollars in assets eventually finding their way onto blockchain networks. That number alone should make every investor pay attention, because it completely changes the discussion surrounding long-term blockchain adoption. Think about where the crypto market stands today. Depending on market conditions, the entire digital asset industry is valued at only a fraction of what experts believe tokenized assets could eventually represent. That means we may still be in the very early stages of a transformation that has barely begun. When people ask why institutions are suddenly paying attention to blockchain technology, this is the answer. They are not focused on speculation alone. They are focused on efficiency, transparency, settlement speed, and the ability to modernize financial systems that have remained largely unchanged for decades. The reason this matters for XRP holders is because XRP and the XRP Ledger have consistently been positioned as solutions designed for real-world financial applications. As tokenization expands, networks capable of supporting enterprise-level activity could become increasingly important. When we look at the growth of tokenized assets over the last few years, the trend is impossible to ignore. What was once a relatively small market has expanded into tens of billions of dollars in value. The pace of adoption has accelerated dramatically, and every major financial institution appears to be exploring opportunities within the sector. This is not happening because of hype. It is happening because the economics make sense. Financial institutions are constantly searching for ways to reduce costs, improve liquidity, increase efficiency, and create new revenue streams. Tokenization addresses many of those objectives. As a result, the industry is witnessing substantial investment, infrastructure development, and experimentation from some of the largest players in global finance. One area attracting tremendous attention is the debt market. While it may not generate the same excitement as cryptocurrencies, the debt market is one of the most important components of the global financial system. Governments, corporations, and institutions rely on debt markets to function. The fact that tokenized debt has become one of the largest categories within the tokenization ecosystem tells us something very important. It signals that major financial entities are taking blockchain-based solutions seriously. This is not a theoretical exercise anymore. Real capital is entering the space, and that capital is seeking infrastructure capable of handling institutional demand. That reality is one reason many XRP supporters remain confident about the future despite short-term market uncertainty. What makes recent developments especially interesting is the growing recognition of Ripple and the XRP Ledger within discussions about tokenization. Reports and industry commentary have highlighted Ripple's involvement in bringing real-world assets onto blockchain infrastructure. According to widely shared discussions within the crypto community, Ripple has already facilitated the tokenization of substantial asset value on the XRP Ledger. Whether investors realize it or not, this places XRP in conversations that include some of the most powerful names in finance. When Ripple is mentioned alongside institutions exploring tokenized funds, tokenized securities, and digital asset infrastructure, it reinforces the idea that XRP is participating in a much larger transformation than simple price speculation. Now consider the broader institutional landscape. Major firms across banking, asset management, and financial services are investing billions into blockchain research and implementation. These are organizations with enormous influence over global capital flows. They are not entering the space because they expect a short-lived trend. They are building because they see a future where tokenization becomes a standard part of financial markets. The significance of this cannot be overstated. Every time another institution launches a tokenized product, conducts a blockchain pilot, or invests in digital asset infrastructure, it strengthens the foundation of the ecosystem. Over time, these developments can create demand for networks capable of supporting large-scale financial activity. And that is where XRP supporters believe the XRP Ledger could play a major role. Another factor investors are watching closely involves regulatory clarity. For years, uncertainty surrounding digital assets has limited institutional participation. Many large organizations simply could not justify entering the market without clearer rules. However, momentum toward regulatory frameworks continues to build. As regulations become more defined, entirely new categories of investors may gain the confidence needed to participate. Pension funds, asset managers, insurance companies, and other institutional investors control enormous amounts of capital. Even a small allocation from these entities could represent billions or trillions of dollars entering the digital asset ecosystem. This is one reason why many analysts believe the coming years could look dramatically different from anything we have witnessed so far. At the same time, market volatility continues to create uncertainty among retail investors. Recent price declines have caused frustration, fear, and doubt throughout the crypto community. Yet history shows that major market opportunities often emerge during periods of maximum pessimism. Some analysts point to previous cycles where significant corrections occurred before major rallies began. Their argument is not that price declines are guaranteed, but rather that volatility is a normal part of the process. Long-term investors often focus less on daily price action and more on the fundamental developments occurring behind the scenes. From that perspective, the expansion of tokenization, institutional adoption, and blockchain infrastructure may be far more important than short-term market fluctuations. Several technical analysts have also been monitoring XRP closely and identifying key support zones that could influence future price action. While technical analysis should never be treated as certainty, it can provide useful insights into market psychology. Some analysts suggest that XRP may be approaching levels where buyers historically become more active. Others argue that current conditions resemble setups observed during previous market cycles. Regardless of which view proves correct, the common theme is that many analysts are paying close attention to XRP right now because they believe a major move could be approaching. Whether that move begins immediately or requires additional consolidation remains to be seen, but interest in XRP has clearly intensified. What makes the next 72 hours especially important is the convergence of multiple narratives at once. We have growing discussions around tokenization. We have increasing institutional participation. We have evolving regulatory developments. We have technical analysts identifying critical levels. And we have investors searching for signs that the market may be preparing for its next major phase. Individually, each of these factors would be noteworthy. Together, they create a situation where sentiment can shift very quickly. Markets often move when expectations change, and expectations can change dramatically when new information enters the picture. Many experienced investors understand that conviction cannot come solely from social media, YouTube videos, or online discussions. Real conviction comes from research. It comes from understanding the technology, studying the market, evaluating the risks, and developing a long-term thesis. The investors who tend to perform best are often those who remain focused on fundamentals, while others become distracted by short-term noise. That does not mean every prediction will come true or every investment will succeed. It simply means that informed decisions generally outperform emotional reactions. In the case of XRP, the fundamental conversation increasingly revolves around utility, tokenization, financial infrastructure, and institutional adoption, rather than speculative hype alone. As we step back and examine the bigger picture, it becomes easier to understand why so many XRP supporters remain optimistic. They see a world moving toward digital assets. They see governments, banks, and corporations exploring blockchain technology. They see tokenization transforming traditional finance, and they see XRP positioned within that conversation. Whether every bullish prediction becomes reality is impossible to know. However, the direction of industry development is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The trend lines point toward greater adoption, greater institutional involvement, and greater integration between traditional finance and blockchain networks. So as we head into the next 72 hours, keep your eyes on the developments unfolding across the market. Watch the tokenization sector, watch institutional announcements, watch regulatory progress, watch XRP's price action and market sentiment. Most importantly, continue doing your own research and forming your own conclusions. Because if the trends we discussed today continue gaining momentum, the opportunity in front of us may be far bigger than most people currently realize. The coming days could provide critical clues about where this market is heading next, and if the pieces continue falling into place, XRP holders may be witnessing the early stages of a transformation that has the potential to change everything. Thank you for watching XRP Update, and I will see you in the next video.